Jaya Radha, not so high. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamunitira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Injera Marava Kunjabi Hari. Kopejana Balaba Girivanadari. Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Boom! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Boom! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Padi Bhajakacharya Astadishesham in His divine grace. Abide Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT founder Charge Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Kota Vaishnavinda Ki. Nam Char Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakti Brindi. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Dham Ki. Dwarka Dham Ki. Navadu Dham Ki. Chumunamai Ki. Gangamai Ki. Tulsi Maharani Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Sambhita Bhakti Vrinda Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Ki. Shri Krishna Sen Kirtana Jaga Ki. Gopremanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the divine lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hey, who's somebody? Hey, Chad, can you pitch this and put some fresh water in here? Huh? If it was, oh, it's done. Thank you very much. Thank you. Krishna says, who says they can't see God? Krishna says, I'm the pure taste of water. I'm the original fragrance of the earth. The presence of God is all around us. You just have to have the eyes to see. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna Sadamo Bhagate Dhammaganadi Bisaha Kalaundasa Dashumesha Parano Konadodata Narayana Namaskritcha Naram Chaibam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. The Bhagavatam, which is brilliant as the sun, it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of the age of Kali shall get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of Godhead Narayan, the Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, the goddess of living mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so we are on Canto 7, Chapter 15, titled, what is it? Civilization, what is it? Instruction for civilized human beings. There's a few around. And it's chapter, verse 52, I think. All righty then. Nishekadi smashanantai samskarai samskrito dvija indriyeshu kriya yagyan jnana dipeshu juvati nishekadi smashashananti samskarai samskrito dvija indriyeshu kriya indriyeshu kriya yagyan jnanadipeshu juvati nishekadi smashanantai samskarai samskrito dvija indriyeshu kriya yagyan jnanadipeshu juvati nishekadi smashanantihi samskarahi samskrito dvija indriyeshu kriya yagyan jnanadipeshu juvati nishekadi smashananti samskarai samskrito dvija indriyeshu kriya yagyan jnanadipeshu juvati nishekadi smashanantai indriyeshu kriya yagyan jnanadipeshu jivati nishekadi smashananti samskara indriyeshu kriya yagyan jnanadipeshu juvati nisheka adi. In the beginning of life, the purificatory process of Garbhodana, when the father begets a child by discharging semen into the womb of the mother. Smashanantai. And at death, when the body is put into cremation and burnt to ashes. So the alpha to omega, both sides of the ends of the spectrum. Smashakaraihi. Yeah, don't confuse me, it doesn't take much. By such purificatory processes. Samskrita, purified. Dvija, a twice-born Brahmana. Indriyeshu, into the senses. Kriya yagyan, activities and sacrifices which elevate one to a higher planetary system. Jnanadipeshu, by enlightening in real knowledge. Juvati, offers. A twice-born Brahman, Dvija, gains his life by the grace of his parents through the process of purification known as Garbhodana. There are also other processes of purification until the end of life, when the funeral ceremony, Antyesti Kriya, is performed. This is in due course. Thus, in due course, a qualified Brahma becomes uninterested in materialistic activities and sacrifices, but he offers the sensual sense sacrifices in full knowledge into the working senses, which are illuminated by the fire of knowledge. All say, you say. A twice-born Brahmana, Dvija, gains his life by the grace of his parents through the process of purification known as Garbhodana. There are also other processes of purification until the end of life, when the funeral ceremony, Antyesti Kriya, is performed. Thus, in due course, a qualified Brahman becomes uninterested in materialistic activities and sacrifices, but he offers the sensual sacrifices in full knowledge into the working senses, which are illuminated by the fire of knowledge. And Prabhupada's purport: those interested in materialistic activities remain in the cycle of birth and death. Pravritti marg, or the inclination to stay in the material world to enjoy varieties of sense gratification, has been explained in the previous verse. Now, in this verse, it is explained that one who has perfect Brahmanical knowledge rejects the process of elevation to higher planets and accepts Nirvritti marg. In other words, he prepares himself to go back home, back to Godhead. Those who are not Brahmins but atheists do not know what is Pravritti marg or Nirvritti marg. They simply want to obtain pleasure at any cost. Our Krishna consciousness movement is therefore training devotees to give up Pravritti marg and accept the Nirvritti marg in order to return home back to Godhead. This is a little difficult to understand, but it is easy if one takes to Krishna consciousness seriously and tries to understand Krishna. A Krishna conscious person can understand that performing yajna according to the karma kanda system is a useless waste of time, and that merely giving up karma kanda and accepting the process of speculation is also unfruitful. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur has sung in his Prema Bhakti Chandrika. Where did Ram go? Oh, Ram. You want to say the Bengali? But you're not there. Yeah, very good.
Who can use microphone?
Yeah, but we got to move, so.
Karmakanda, Jnanakanda, Kevala Viserabhanda, Amrita Boliya Jeva Khai, Tarajani Sada Fire, Kadarya Bhakhan Kare, Tar Janma Adhapate Jai.
Thank you. Prabhupada doesn't give a word for word, but he gives the essence. A life of karma kanda, or jnana kanda, is like a poison pot, and one who takes to such a life is doomed. In the karma kanda system, one is destined to accept birth and death again and again. Similarly, with karma kanda, one falls down again to the material world. Only worship of the Supreme Personality, a person, offers one the safety of going back home, back to Godhead. Om Gana Temerandasya Gana Gana Salakaya Jakshushur Militan Gina Shri Gurave Namaha. So I have a question for you. Why doesn't a square peg fit in a round hole? And it's not a trick question. Why doesn't a fish feel happy on the land? Don't worry, you'll still get breakfast. You get it wrong. Yes, Neela. It's not its natural environment. Okay, that's good. That's good. It's not designed to do that. It's also not its natural environment. And that's with the fish in the water. But the point is, it's not designed to do that. So in the similar it's said in an earlier verse that it used the term dravya mayam, which means, because it's talking about Vedic sacrifices. And some of these, remember that devotee, I forgot, Gaur Keshava, was that his name? Or Keshava? No. I'm talking about the guy who did the big fire yajnas and was always our big... Yeah. So he used to put on elaborate ceremonies. He even went to a magic store, and there's some liquid that you can dip, because the Brahmins used to start the fire just by mantra. They went there rubbing sticks together, getting the Bic lighter or whatever it was. They could do it by mantra. So he went to a magic store and he dipped the two sticks in evidently this type of propellant that people use to start fires. And so when he rubbed them together, they were supposed to catch fire. But he tried it once, tried it twice, didn't work. Tried it 3 times, didn't work. So he just threw it under his seat, and the seat was a little elevated like this. So he threw it under the seat and called for matches and started the regular fashion. And after about 15 minutes into the ceremony, when he'd thrown it under the seat, that had caused the friction, and he lit the Vyasasan on fire. They had to carry it out, And just work with me. Yeah, please do. In a similar fashion, he was sitting on it. So you can imagine, well, he jumped off it. Flames came out the back. Or Shamasundar tells a story that when they, in Prabhupada as the great Herculean hero, when the altar collapsed and it was going to fall on Radha London Ishwara, and Prabhupada, with once shoved everything out of the way, stepped on the altar and held the altar, and then they had to then the other men ran in and held the thing, and they had to take out the pillars and the columns and the canopy, and the BBC was there, the British Broadcasting. And they all thought it was part of the ceremony. They were filming everything coming out, So you can have an elaborate ceremony, but okay, because what is the next word from the previous? It says, so it's describing these Vedic civilization means very sophisticated, elaborate ceremonies. If you see the some of these Orthodox church, a mass, it's a lot. They've got the guys swinging the incense and this happening, and Gregorian chants, and it's quite impressive, carrying the icons, and it's quite impressive. So you can have, as it says here, you can have much paraphernalia, what to speak of, with all the ghee and it's actually an interesting thing. Sariputta said that we can understand. They say that the origin of algebra and geometry, especially geometry, it comes from the Greeks. However, earlier than the Greeks, you've got the Veda, the Rig Veda, which describes how you set up all these different types of yagyas. And they're very precise in order for them to actually have their efficacy and, you know, manipulate the material forces. They're quite precise. And they have to, and they're different shapes, and they're different, you know, there's all kinds of stuff going on, and they're precision. And those were, in order to do those properly, you have to understand geometry and algebra. Otherwise, you can't construct them. So they've never found, because so many of the Vedas were lost, they've never found a text that lays out the Pythagorean theory and this and that, whatever it is. But you can understand, to make these yaga, for this yaga at this time and this season, you've got to do this, and it's, you know, shaped like this. So how it explains the shapes and the precision, but it doesn't give you the formula. It must have been somewhere else, because you couldn't have made them without the formula. So my point, just as a sidelight. But the point being is it very elaborate, and the more elaborate it is, the more people are impressed. Oh, you must really know what you're doing. Prabhupada tells a story about the rich lady was sick, and her servant was sick. And when the doctor came and analyzed, and they both were sick with a different thing, well, the first thing they did was the rich lady, her fever was like 100 degrees, and the servant was 102. And the rich lady said, no, I must have a higher fever than her. And then when the doctor prescribed Ayurvedic, when they prescribed the medicine, the rich lady's medicine was whatever it was, $10, and the servant's was $100. She said, no, I must have more expensive medicine. So, but what's the purpose of the whole thing? And the more elaborate, the more complicated, the more expensive, then it must have more efficacy or more potency. That's the way the human mind works. But the point is, and it says, kamyam was the next, that they're full of desires. So full of desires to get something material, the very elaborate and complicated. But here it's saying that it doesn't work. It doesn't deliver what it's supposed to deliver. Krishna is not impressed. That's one of the whole themes of Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharma parityaja. You know, there's so many yagyas and so many brands, so many yogis. And Krishna, you know, gives a gloss on it, explains the basic principles. You know, you stare at the tip of your nose. But there was a guy with a Santa Claus hat that just stuck his... We see them all. So the point this section is making is that that's not... Welcome back. Yeah. Try to keep it on the DL. Thank you. Well, let's say it this way. And people try to cheat Krishna. They're trying to... The whole principle of karma kanda, the whole point this is making is to purify the heart. And what does purify the heart actually mean? It doesn't mean all the externals. It doesn't mean all the fancy stuff. What it means is, do we actually clue into the fact that there's no formula? As I said in the beginning, nothing makes this place nice. There's no way to game the system. It doesn't matter how great a mystic yogi you are. Who was there was the Prabhupada's German godbrother who went to India and saw that the yogis you know, they were, by understanding the laws of physics as much as they could, they're figuring out how to fly airplanes and how to, you know, so many different things, go through stone, where they're making their, you know, tunnels and so many things for trains. And okay, but the yogis can accomplish the same thing materially. I mean, but you know, in other words, instead of all the dynamite and this and that, they can just go right through stone. So, okay, that's what the same thing the materialists, the karmis are doing. The yogis actually, even though they're better at it, are just doing the same thing. And therefore he concluded to give up material activities, to give up the yoga practices, and take to bhakti. Prabhupada mentions that about his godbrother. So, again, if we want to solve the thing, as Prabhupada says several times in this purport, it's just a big waste of time. Now, at the same time, because truth is nuanced, it is not binary, it's not black or white, it's very rarely up or down. I mean, sometimes it is. But so there's also steps of purification. Prabhupada talks about it here. That you have to know the goal. The goal is to become renounced. Any way I shuffle this stuff and move it around, it's going to be the same thing. It doesn't solve any of the problems. It's a whole lot of hard work and expense, you know, and it has it, and you can't game the system. You can't get around birth, death, disease, old age. You know that people are now getting sick, which I thought was interesting. They found that there were all these, what do you call it, forest fires up in Canada. And it blew down even as far as Boston and New York and was hovering over them. And they found that people were getting all kinds of weird diseases. And they found out that what was actually happening was because of the forest fires, and when the fires burned everything up, turns out that not everything is destroyed in a forest fire. You would think, like Krishna says, people are living on the sun. Oh, come on. He spoke to Vivaswan, the sun god. But as Prabhupada points out, and it makes complete sense, people are living in the sky. People, you know, birds, fish have adapted to water. There's living entities that can live in a fire, and they can live in the sun. It turns out there actually are microbes that are not burned up by the fire, and they're blown by the smoke. But they're mutated by the experience of burning up. They're carried by the smoke, and they're creating new diseases that are not seen. So, I mean, okay, you can fix one thing, but there's so many other. You can't game the system. You can't get out of birth, death, disease, and old age. You're going to get it one way or the other. So the intelligent thing is, wait a minute. Instead of trying to game the system, trying to cheat Krishna, well, I did this jugga and I did that jugga, and, you know, so many Hail Marys, and, you know, I went to the priest, I confessed for my sinful acts, and he said, you know, just say so many Hail Marys, and what's the other thing they say? The rosary, and, you know, and you counteract. It doesn't work that way, because the point is the heart, and you can't game the system. So somebody who's intelligent, because this is about human civilization, they talk about, we always hear that society, human civilization is progressive. You know, we were prehistoric, now we're historic. It was the Iron Age, and now we're up to the nanosecond, you know, whatever that is, you know, whatever they've got going on. But what is has your character changed? Has your goal changed? How is that evolving? So here it's explaining human civilization means to understand that's all a waste of time. And it doesn't, you can't game the system, you can't get around it, you can't dodge it. You can't, like Ravan, you can't build a staircase to heaven. You can't do it. If you want Ram Raj, and we'll let you answer this, if we want Ram Raj, the kingdom of God, what is the cornerstone, essential element of the kingdom of God? Yes, Dravida. There has to be, you can't have Ram Raj without Ram. You can't have the kingdom of God without God. You can't, what Prabhupada says, he wanted to enjoy Sita without Ram. You can't enjoy the material nature unless you use it in the service of the Supreme Lord. Because as we said in the beginning, that's how it's designed. And you can try so many jerry-rigged systems and it's ultimately not going to accomplish the job. So human civilization, the proof of evolved human civilization is to understand, forget the whole thing. Forget Pravritti Marg. Any way you try to manipulate it. But give up Pravritti Marg and Nirvritti Marg. Renunciation. Okay, but does it mean, what does that mean? Does that mean you just stop doing anything and it'll all happen by osmosis or what? How do you become purified? So I just wanted to read for a few minutes the, let's skip over all this stuff. And let's say this, there's Prabhupada explains that just to take one, so here's some samskars. Let me say that first. And Ram, you can let me know if I've forgotten any. But there's for the child to be born in the womb, at the time of conception, there's a mother and father before the actual act of impregnating the child within the womb. I remember Vishnujan Swami called it radio-free spirit. They used to beam in the BBC, the message behind the iron curtain or bamboo curtain or whatever it is. So by proper samskaras, you attract a particular entity to the womb. You want to get a devotee child, you chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Prabhupada said 50 rounds, I think is the number he used to give us. But anyway, there's a whole process. And you get a nice devotee who is someone who was a devotee in their previous life. There's an art to the thing. So you get the right person born into a devotee family and with the right consciousness, not a little, greedy monkey. No offense. But and then there's a name-giving ceremony. There's a hair-cutting ceremony. You give the first grains. When the child goes to school, when they're given a Brahmin thread, there's marriage. If I've forgotten anything, then there's death ceremony. And even then, even after death, which Jayapataka Maharaj called, when you offer, was it Pinda? What is it called? Shrad, yeah, Shrad. And Pinda is the prasadam that's offered to the forefather. So Jayapataka Maharaj said, it's a cosmic, karmic care package. Wherever you are in existence, whatever sinful thing you're suffering from or carrying, because you can't escape it, whatever you're carrying, when you do that, when your son or a relative does the Shrad ceremony, wherever you are, you get a boost of Vishnu Prasadam from Lord Narayan. You get, just out of nowhere, you get a get out of jail card free. So from before you appear on the scene, before the impregnation, and even after the fire yajna, so there's a whole system that purifies the living entity. But it rests on the concept that, hey, I'm supposed to get out of here. I'm supposed to become renounced. I'm supposed to become detached. And that is a civilized human being who uses the human form of life to follow the path of Nirviti Marg and to give up this material world and give up all these troublesome, lusty desires, because it is a ton of trouble. I went to the mall yesterday. I had to get something. It's a long story. And I didn't see a whole lot of jolly, holly jolly, happy spirit. I didn't see that. I still got some of those Christmas tunes stuck in my head. I'm still trying to shake them, you know. So I didn't see that. I saw a kid throw a full-on tantrum. You know, I'm talking throw himself on the floor, kick their feet, screaming. The parents are. I mean, there were some people under illusion that everything's gonna. And I lost him at that point. So our Santa Claus man, it doesn't work. Okay, so we can end there because of the time factor. I think I've covered enough. Well, I wanted to say one other thing, just to give you another picture in your head. Have you ever seen those? I don't know if they got people who hypnotize people and tells them you're a chicken, and the person buck 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 buck. They're strutting around the stage. You know, they still do that. They must still do that. Yeah. Okay. So the point is that, and then what? The guy claps his hands or says, when I say you're a knucklehead, not a chicken, 3 times, the guy snaps out of it, you know. So that's what human civilization means, and the process of purification means. Snap out of it. You're hypnotized. We're thinking with this body, we're thinking with enjoyer, we're thinking, if I just get the right formula, everything's going to be in it. No, snap out of it. Doesn't work. Okay, we can end there. Any question? Not all at once now. Huh? That's what I'm thinking. Everyone thinking time for breakfast. All right. So we can end there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you.